This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 431 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is sponsored by The Horse Depot. You can find them at thehorsedepot.online.com. Howdy, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and you're listening to Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we are bringing you a segment from the Horses in the Morning show that I do with Jamie Jennings and my wife, Jennifer H., every morning from 9 a.m. on, Monday through Friday. Well, this week we did a segment with Christy West of thehorse.com. They do a weekly horse health report every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. And this week she had on with her Bill Glisson of the Hay Exchange, talking about picking good hay and mold and things like that. And I thought it was very interesting, and I thought you would find it very interesting. We haven't talked about hay a whole lot here on Horse Tip Daily, so I thought it would be one of those topics that we could bring to you thanks to Horses in the Morning. So we're going to be back with that. But first, I want to talk to you about, about whether or not you've been thinking about some custom products for you or your horse. Maybe show off those unique barn colors. If you need some custom products, the place you want to go is the Horse Depot, because they have what you're going to need, from custom apparel to sheets to saddle pads to equestrian carry bags. They have the top names in custom that you want, including Blue Ribbon and Jax and Fenwick and Tally-Ho. Those companies have been around forever, and they are the names in custom. And you can get them all at the Horse Depot. Get the colors and the cut and the features you want for those spring sheets, or protect your saddles and bridles and show clothes with a custom equestrian bags made in the color of your choice. Colors have become very important now in the horse world. You have to be all matchy-matchy, as Helena says. So if you want to be all matchy-matchy, then check it out at thehorsedepot.online.com. Customer service can't be beat. You'll get the service that you expect on a custom product. Go to thehorsedepot.online.com and do it today. And now from the Horses in the Morning show, this would be from episode 108 on March the 30th. The episode we did, the Horse Health Report with thehorse.com and Christy West and Bill Gleason of the Hay Exchange. And you'll hear Jamie Jennings and my wife Jennifer H. on here as well. Hope you enjoy.
It's time for the weekly health report from thehorse.com. Fantastic information and Christy's attempt to ruin Glenn's lunch every week.
Like it, Christy?
I love it. You guys are gonna push me to new heights of grossing Glenn out. This is awesome, and unfortunately, it's not gonna occur this week. But we'll try to make it happen.
Hey,
I know.
you have something I can actually talk about this week. Yay!
Oh Lord. I'm a little disappointed, Christy, because we have been out of the growth factor for quite some time. And, it's time to bring it back and grow Glenn out. He's putting on weight because he's now able to eat lunch on Wednesdays. So we need to go ahead and we need to get some gross pussy abscesses, or just muscle wasting tissue or something like that to make it gross next week.
Flesh-eating bacteria?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yes.
We can have fun. We need to have this campaign. I was thinking about this the other day. I need to solicit some suggestions from our fans on Facebook, and maybe Jamie, you guys could do this too. What's the grossest thing we can talk about? And that way we can have lots of material for Glenn.
That's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, that's
okay, we'll have the
great.
listeners.
You're welcome, Glenn.
Anytime, Christy.
Well, you guys today are going to talk about. You guys today are going to talk about picking good hay, and I know you have with you Bill Glisson, who's the owner of the Hay Exchange. And, this is awesome because we're at that point, it's springtime. You got to start, they're going to start cutting hay soon. You need to know what to find and how to get it and what's the best one and what fits your horse. So this is actually very appropriate timing. I know it's not gross, but it's good. So, Christy, why don't you go ahead and introduce Bill, unless I already did.
You did a little bit. Bill Glisson is the owner of the Hay Exchange. And, Bill, tell us a little bit about what you do at the Hay Exchange. By the way, Bill was highly recommended by Erin, who says that she's heard him speak for hours on hay without a single person getting bored, and he's awesome. So, with that, Bill, tell us a little bit about you.
No pressure there, Bill.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Well, good morning. We'll start with that. And I'll also tell you thanks for having me, and I'm very grateful that I've made this week's topic as opposed to next week's potential flesh-eating bacteria. So maybe more fitting for me to talk about hay. I think, guys, what I'll do is I'll start and tell you how I got involved. Number one, I've been involved in feeding horses primarily my whole life, from either a feed standpoint and in the last 20-plus years from the forage side. But they do go hand in hand. And it's kind of interesting how I got involved in hay many, many years ago, working for a national feed manufacturer. I did a lot of speaking all across the country, and one of the most commonly asked questions was, I got a great feed store that supplies me with my product, or a local feed mill, or I'm really happy with my grain part of my diet, but where do I get good quality hay consistently? And so that consistently asked question, no matter if I was on the West Coast or Midwest or up in the Northeast or in the southern states, that question was always asked. And so one day, being a little aggravated with corporate America and flying on a plane from coast to coast, I decided that I'd be the answer to that question, at least to some people. So that's how I got started.
And talk to us a little bit about some of the different types of hay that are out there. And part of the reason, I know that's kind of a basic question, but I know when I grew up just riding down at the boarding barn down the street, didn't even think about hay. It was in the hay barn, we fed it, didn't really think a lot about different types of hay. So maybe not everybody knows all of what's out there, people in a similar situation.
You bet, Christy. There's two types of forages. There's grass forages and there's legume forages, and I'll touch on the difference between those two and how they may apply. But there's also, that's probably the greatest impact on feeders, is there's local hay and our domestic hay, and then there's imported hay. And by using the term import, I don't necessarily mean we bring it in from out of country. However, we could bring it from Canada into the U.S., which is often done. But it could be that the simple fact that you live in a geographical region that doesn't grow the type of hay that's maybe your personal preference to feed, and so we refer to that as an import. So, growing up, I think it depends if we grew up in a show barn or maybe just in a backyard operation. And feeding hay is basically the personal preference of the horse owner. I believe in this fact that you can feed whatever forage you want, but you should consider a consistent supply and some quality factors about it. But let's talk just a second about grass hays versus legume hays.
I think that's good.
Christy, for example, in Texas there's a lot of Bermuda forages grown. There's a lot of different varieties of Bermuda grass, some standard varieties as well as some new hybrid varieties that's improved digestibility and feed value. And then, of course, you've got the most popular grass forage of all is probably Timothy. And there's many more that have been developed since then. You have Timothy, Orchard, Brome, and these varieties of Bermuda, as well as some new hybrid forages that's being tested by universities around the state and the country. And I refer to those grass forages as a good fiber forage. And the reason for that, grass forages are fiber. There's less feed value and a lot of fiber value, as opposed to your legumes, which would be your second classifications, which the most popular legume would be, of course, alfalfa. And then you have clover hays. In the South, they've developed a perennial peanut hay. And so there's also a selection of legumes hay, and I refer to those as the fuel forages, meaning that there's more protein and energy in those forages than the grass. So there's the major differences that even the most novice feeders should.
I got to ask about that, though. You said peanut hay. Is that really hay from peanuts? Like peanuts?
Very good question. You know, for many, many years...
Is there peanuts on the bottom so you can feed your elephant and your horse at the same time? Or your mini giraffe?
Your mini giraffe, exactly.
Good thought. But no, it's not.
Oh, darn.
You know, for years they've baled the tops of peanuts and fed them to cows, so it's a real coarse fiber. But no, I'm going to give credit, I believe, to the University of Georgia, who's developed a perennial peanut that's just a derivative of that peanut bush. And it's a very highly digestible, high-energy, high-protein forage for the South, since they can't produce alfalfa commercially.
So it's a real high protein type of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Green as green could be.
There you
go.
Where's
color come into play when you're dealing with hay? There's a horse husband question for you. You know, because I always tried to judge by color, and then Jennifer always got mad at me because I always liked the really bright green ones, and our horse has to wear a muzzle, so I wasn't allowed to feed any of the bright green stuff. So, you know, is that something you really do look at when you're looking at hay?
Well, most people do, and I got to tell you, we should also understand this, that the forage represents over 50% of the cost in feeding a horse, but yet it's the only product we buy that does not have a nutritional profile attached to the product itself, like a bag of feed, for example. And so, unfortunately, people they buy it based on their perceived value, which a lot of it has to do with color. You know, the old adage, the grass is always greener on the other side, is never made anybody any more money than hay dealers, because they'll sell green hay for more money than they would hay that's not quite so green. Is it relevant? You bet. In some cases, it's simply it's an outward way of measuring, was it harvested and cured properly? But I got to tell you, let's use alfalfa, for example. Alfalfa with a little sun bleach can be just as nutritionally prolific as a pea green hay that's perfect in color, but yet could save a feeder or commercial producer $40 or $50 a ton. So there's definitely more that we should evaluate a bale of hay than color alone.
Okay, so when you've got your hay bale, because I have to feed some alfalfa here. I'm in Phoenix, and like you said, it's kind of hard to find any other kind of hay out here. It's very prevalent, but I feed a grass hay, and then I also feed the alfalfa. But I was always concerned about the edge of the alfalfa bale, because that's the one, I guess, was turned up to the sun, and when it was stacked, it was on the sunny side. So it's always a completely bleached out part of the hay bale. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you've got the four sides, one side is always white because it's been seeing the sun, but you're saying that it still could be very nutritional?
Absolutely. Now it obviously depends on how long it may have been exposed to weather elements other than just sun, but it's interesting how you commented that it's almost white, it's so sun bleached. There's a direct relevancy that the lighter the color of the bleach usually is a representative of the higher quality of the hay. But by no means is sun bleach a reflection of the decrease in quality.
That's good to know, because I was always trying to sort through and not pick those pieces out.
Well, you know, and have I heard of that? We deal with it every day. Anybody that's in the hay business deals with it every day. And you know what the fact is? 20% of any stack of hay is going to have external bleach, just because 90% of the growers do not put their hay and store it in a completely enclosed barn. So even under a shed, it will receive some sun bleach on the sides. Well, there's always those people like your comment, I can't feed that, I must pick it off or not choose a bale of hay that has any at all. Those people simply charge the hay to go up a little higher, because a producer has to sell that pea green hay with no bleach that's in the middle of the stack for more money than the edges. So if you want to talk about controlling cost in these economic times, you should evaluate that based on your cost per head per day to feed a horse, and you should educate yourself a little bit more about selecting the right hay and understanding how to interpret the quality of hay. And I believe you guys have accumulated some links and stuff that people can go to on some sites here and further educate themselves on buying hay. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have.
And I have a question too. All right, so I'm coming from the horse husband's point of view here. Who, we get two jobs. We get to muck stalls and feed. That's what we're allowed to do. So my question is, when we're feeding, we're always taught to look for mold, and mold is obviously a curse of every horse person. But is there really a good way? I can never tell. It's a little dusty, so I just call Jennifer over and say, "Is this moldy?" Because the sniff test never worked for me. So, is there a good way to tell if your hay is really moldy? Because sometimes it's just dusty, and it's just hard to tell.
Good points, and yeah, you need to start off by buying your hay from a reputable source.
Yeah, but even reputable sources, there can be crappy hay in the middle,
No doubt, and there's no replacing an individual evaluating each flake of hay before they feed them. There's just no way. You need to have that last visual inspection, and if your sniffer don't work, because you're exactly right, in that Arizona market, there's a lot of dry days, a lot of windy days, and it'll blow some farm dirt and some dust into the hay mouse, and so the dust that may be in that hay is not mold spore dust, but just dust, and so when you flake that bale, shake it. If you get a little dust in there, you should try and smell it and qualify it, and obviously look for the visible signs of mold and non-feeding hay.
Well, I really want, how the police have the breathalyzer tests? I really want a little gadget that horse husbands can use. We just stick it in the hay and it says whether it's moldy or not.
Well, I just think we should work on that. It sounds like a great project.
Yeah, I think you should. I really do. Yeah. I would buy one of those.
Would you?
Like an internal meat thermometer kind of thing.
That's
where you stick it in, it's like...
A moldometer or something maybe, huh?
A moldometer. That's perfect.
Okay,
so we're all the horse could make a fortune.
Absolutely. We're all partners on this deal.
Okay.
A moldometer. That's almost like a miniature giraffe. That's great.
Miniature giraffes are real, Glenn. Miniature giraffes are real. Your mold meter is not real.
Well, I wanted to ask Bill another question about things that shouldn't be in hay besides mold. And there are a lot of weeds that can get baled into hay that can cause some problems, and things like blister beetles. I mean, where can people find out a little bit more? What should they really watch out for?
We always used to get snakes in our hay. You'd open it up and there'd be a dead snake. That was really gross.
Tasty.
And all those are factors that I don't know how we'll ever get away from, because the reality is hay is produced in a field, with the help of Mother Nature, and it's not manufactured. And so, yeah, you'll have the occasional wildlife or animal or rodent or something like that baled, you just got to watch for it. It goes back to watching what you're feeding, because I don't know any way that we'll ever replace that.
So the recommendation would just be to pitch the flakes on either side of whatever dead critter you just found in your hay, right?
Nothing replaces common sense. And I'd hate to tell somebody to discard the whole bale. But in some cases, that may be necessary, right? I mean, if it's a skunk, you probably want to get rid of the whole bale. If it's an 8-inch grass snake, you probably a couple of flakes.
All right, that's the best. People on our Facebook page have been posting their best lines of the day. You get the best line of the day.
Is that right?
Nothing replaces common sense. Right there, best line of the day.
And then as my mama always said when she was cooking in the kitchen and she'd see something, she'd go, "Oh, if in doubt, throw it out."
Exactly.
Moms know, don't
they? Then there's the
Mamas
other
always.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I disagree, and mamas always know.
They do. And mine used to sometimes say that common sense isn't always common.
That's true.
That becomes more relevant all the time, does it not?
It does. It does. Well,
is this the Horse.com segment or the bad quotes of the day segment? I'm not sure. It could be both.
It could be both. Today it could be both. Next week we can get into more gory things. But I did want to let everybody know, if you're worried at all about toxic plants in your hay, we do have an Ask the Vet live event on poisonous plants tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern with Dr. Anthony Knight, Colorado State, and Dr. Karen Bischoff of Cornell. So if you got any questions about that, we're going to be talking about toxic plants and pastures and hay and everything else for about an hour. And you can sign up on thehorse.com for that.
Great topic.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Dr. Knight literally wrote the book on poisonous plants and animals, so I think it's going to be a great session.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Bill, for joining us today and for coming up with our quote of the day. We really appreciate that. And, Christy, I'm just so looking forward to next week. I think I'm going to be out Wednesday, actually. I got something. I'm going to come up with something, I'm sure.
You're feeling the Wednesday flu coming on?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little sick right now. I'm sure it's going to be really bad by next Wednesday. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate it. And, of course, you can find all the information you ever want about horse health at thehorse.com. In addition to that, you can find lots of other good, cool stuff now, including all of our shows right there on your website. So we do appreciate that too, Christy.
Well, we appreciate you providing such a great and entertaining look at everything in the horse world.
Yeah, entertaining. I'm not sure it's good, but it is entertaining. Bye, Christy. Bye, Bill.
Is fun. Take care.
Well, I hope you enjoyed and learned something out of all that silliness that we provide there on Horses in the Morning, and we do occasionally learn things too. I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks to Christy at thehorse.com for coming on every week, and thanks you to thehorse.com for carrying all of our shows on their website. We appreciate that as well. And I think that's going to be it for today. We'll look forward to talking to you again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.
The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.